Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for the Grants Management System for the ECO One Stop. We're just going to wait one moment here while we let some more folks join in. Expecting a pretty good attendance today, so please bear with us for just a moment as we let people enter the chat. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Hinckley, and I'm with the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And welcome to our presentation today on using the Grants Management System for the ECO One Stop or any other grants you may be applying for. I'm joined today by the ECO One Stop team, and we've come together to try to use this opportunity to help you use our system and to apply for the ECO One Stop. With us today is Kara Runston, who is with the MVP program, Emily Gagne, who's our MVP fellow, Nicholas Bulens, who is with the Dam and Seawall program at Energy and Environmental Affairs, Carolyn Norkowitz with the MVP program, and Viva Itamere, who is with our EEAIT department, and Marissa Robertson, also with the MVP program. We're all thrilled to have you here today. Bear with me while I just share my screen real quick, and we'll start the presentation. All right, looks like we're in presentation mode, and that's great. Thank you for joining us today. As we begin our program today, I'll let you know that this presentation will be recorded, so you can pick it up later on the ECO One Stop website, and we'll share that website with you over the course of the presentation. The slides will also be shared for your reference later. Please know that today we're going to ask that if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A rather than the chat or raising your hand. The Q&A allows us to answer your questions in real time as quickly as we can. I'm going to go through our agenda very quickly today. This will be a very brief introduction to our grants management system. It'll help you to create your password and username on the MyMassGov utility, start your profile in the GMS system. We'll go through the ECO One Stop grant application. We'll help you make sure that the correct entity is applying for that One Stop grant. Talk about participating as a partner or a consultant. And we'll talk about the ECO deadlines and how to get support for the system. Please note that there's going to be a lot of slides today, and we intend to go through them fairly quickly. Are going to have these slides so that when you come back to visit, all the various steps will be seen and with screenshots. And so that we won't be actually showing a live demo, we'll just be showing screenshots today so it can be brought up later. So very briefly, the question is, what is the grants management system? Grants management system was developed and released in March of last year as a central location to manage your grant work with EEA agencies. It's a way to find and apply for grants, to transmit, retain, and view documents and messages, a tool to track the progress of your grant applications, a contracting tool, a way to send in payment requests, deliverables, and reports, and a way to collaborate with your team, save records, and access them for the future. We're going to be using this system to make applications for the ECO One Stop programs. This system uses a tool called MyMassGov to create your username and password. MyMassGov is a statewide system that allows you to access a number of different state-supported software systems. If you already have a MyMassGov username and password, for instance, if you've applied for a MassDOT grant or certain other programs in your town or your nonprofit, you do not need a new account or password. The system will still be there for you. This MyMass.gov, when you enter this, because this is a business-related system, we're going to use a business account. This is very important because if you try to use the personal account, it won't work for you with the grants management system. The personal account will be for your personal transactions with the state. When you go to create a business account, it's going to ask you, you're going to select create an account, and it's going to ask you to create an email and a password. The system also has a multi-factor authentication system that you can use an authenticator app or your telephone number to do that. Once you're set up, you're going to enter the MyMassGov system, and there'll be a menu of different types of programs that you can access. What we're going to be looking for is the EOEA Grants Management System, and you'll just click on that, and it's going to open up our new system. When you see this gray and green screen, you're going to select Business Municipal Nonprofit User Login. Please do not select the personal login. That's for a different set of systems. And please do not select the state employee login. You definitely want to enter with the business, municipal, or nonprofit. First-time users will need to enter their information to get established in our grants management system. You'll see circled here with the arrow, there's a little link that says update your user profile. And this is how you're going to tell EEA who you are and what you want to do in our system. It's going to ask you a couple little bits of information, your name, your organization, your phone number, and the requested group. And that's going to default to grantee, which means you're coming in to apply for a grant. It's going to ask you your business address. And what you're going to do is once you've completed that, be sure to hit the update profile button. If you fill in that and you don't update the profile, it won't transmit to us and we won't know that you're there. We're going to take a moment to validate your profile. And in the meantime, you'll see this screen here. We try to do this very quickly within hours or even faster. But if there's a lot of volume, it may take a day or two. So please don't wait till the last minute to do this. You can do this anytime, even if you're not ready to apply for a grant yet. Once you've accessed the system, you're going to be presented with your grants management portal. And the portal has a couple of pieces that you may need to know. There's a menu on the left side that has a number of different options, and there's a yellow indicator. And in this case, we've selected the Browse and Apply. The Browse and Apply menu gives you these little cards that show you every grant that is currently open with EEA and the agencies. The one we're going to be looking for today is called the Environment and Climate One Stop. It's got a green header on it, and you'll just click the link to open that up. By the way, at the bottom of the screen where your name is displayed, and there's a little arrow, and that's where you can access your personal profile as well as log out from the system. Again, to access this, you can click on the link to learn more about the grant application, or you can simply click the Apply button. When you open up the grant record, you'll see that this first page about some information about the EcoClimate One Stop. It's got information about our webinars. It's got links to the various grants that are included in this. It's got the application close date, and it's got some more information. And you can navigate the tabs at the top of the screen to learn more about the program. When you're ready to apply, simply select the Start Grant Application button. When you open up the grant application, this is where you're going to start to see, and we're going to go through now, is the actual application form for the Eco One Stop. The first page that you'll see provides some additional information about the Eco One Stop and all the different programs. You'll see on the left side, right now it's grayed out. But there's a menu here that is going to sort of track your progress as you complete the grant application. As you continue through the screens, you'll see that those turn green. And when you've completed a screen, the little box will have a check mark in it. Always use the next button to record your work. Even if you haven't finished on the page and you want to exit, be sure to hit the next and then save draft. We'll talk a little bit about this, but the saving is very important, and you can always select the back button. Save information in each section on each screen. Select the next button before moving on. If you want to exit or save, please note that when you select the Save Draft button, you will exit the application and it will take you back to the My Applications portal. You may re-enter by clicking the link in your drafts. If you don't immediately see your draft in your draft section, refresh your browser. It's important to save periodically. The system does not save automatically, although a lot of information will be retained simply by selecting the Next button. Second page is what we call our Policies and Procedures page, and this has some information that you may find useful as you try to complete the application. You can always refer to this by clicking back to it in the Policies and Procedures tab on the left-hand menu. This also includes the Grants Catalog. The Grants Catalog has some great information for you as you look to complete your application and learn more about each of the programs. This is the first series of questions for the actual ECO application. These will be shared with all programs that you choose to apply to. The little question mark icon is a tip, and you can hover or click on those to see more information. I want to point out the grant primary contact. This is an important field, and the drop-down menu will be populated with people in your organization. The grant primary contact can be changed at any time, but please note that the person who is the primary contact will be receiving email notifications from the grants management system. And so this is, you can have multiple people working on it at one time, but at this point we can only have one primary contact. Please consider carefully the way you title your application. The title of your application is going to be how we refer to your application over the course of the one-stop application. Unique to your individual project, it'll help as an identifier. Please note that anything with an asterisk symbol is required response, and you can't submit your application until all of those required questions are complete. Next screen will bring you into some eligibility questions, and these will be used to find which programs that your entity or project may be eligible for. The first one will have the type of an organization, whether it's a nonprofit, a municipality, a district, a tribal government, or other, and you'll select that from a drop-down menu. For the project type, you're going to select the project type that is that best fits your organization. You can just pick one, but there's a large number of selections there, and hopefully there'll be one that fits your needs. If you're in a coastal watershed or a coastal community, you'll see those there, and that may make you eligible for certain coastal zone management grants. Depending on your answers to the previous screen, the grants management system will suggest some programs that you may be eligible for. If you see the program, you can read a little bit more about it. If you don't want to approve to that, you may always select the Remove button in red that will remove that from your application. If you change your mind and want to go back and you do in fact want to apply to that, you can add it back in later. You must have at least one program that you're applying to in order to proceed. If you've answered your questions and you don't see the program that you thought you were eligible for, go back and select the Other button under Project Type. The next set of questions you will see are what we call the core questions. The core questions section is going to be is only going to be completed once, and then those responses will be transmitted to every program that you apply for. So be sure to consult the grants catalog to learn more about the responses and how each program would like to, what information they would like to see. There will be 7 screens of core questions, and those will be visible on the left side menu. When you complete your core questions, you'll be guided into the individual programs that you've selected in that program selection screen. And here you'll be a little bit more about the information, and then you'll answer program-specific questions that will only be shared with the program that you are applying to here. At the end of each program-specific set of questions, you'll have the chance to review your responses. If there's anything that you don't like or is anything that's missing, you can simply hit the back button or click on the left side menu to go back and change your responses here. You can always change your responses until you hit the submit button. When you're completed with your program-specific questions, there'll be an opportunity to review all of the documents you've uploaded over the course of the application. They'll all be listed here. If you have additional documents that you think that it would be important for your program to have, but they hadn't been asked for yet, there is an opportunity to add that by selecting the Add Documentation button. The final screen will be an opportunity to see all of your responses on a single page, and look for it. And the system will help to look for missing information in those required sections. If you want, so the first thing that you'll see is all of the core questions compiled, and then they'll have the member programs or the different individual programs that you have applied to. To see your responses there, just click that green arrow. We tried to collapse those a little bit to make the screen a little bit easier to read. If there is missing information, the system will display these errors in these pink boxes with these exclamation points. They'll try to guide you back to the errors or the missing information, and you can go back there on the left side menu and then just continue to hit the next button to get back to where you belong. Please note, then when you are satisfied with your application, you're going to click this box, and it's going to remind you that no further changes can be made to the project information when you submit your application. This is very important to note. You can't go back and edit, you can't go back and change, you can't go back and update. So check your work carefully before submitting the grant application. When the grant application is submitted, the primary contact will receive an email from the grants management system. The record on your portal will show as submitted. The record on your My Applications tab will show in the Apply column. All records will be maintained in the grants management system, and those will be retained based on the Secretary of the Commonwealth's document retention schedule. If you have drafts in there that were not submitted by the deadline, they will show as expired, and they will remain in the grants management system for at least 1 year. The My Applications tab will show you all of your different work with EEA and the Environment and Energy agencies. All of your drafts will appear up in this top section, and then those that are underway, that have been applied for, under evaluation, have been approved, will all show in those different columns down the way, and those will move along as the grant moves along its approval process. You'll be able to track this in real time as things move along. I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to check the Q&A real quick. Bear with me. Oops. And Q&A. Let's see. I'm just going to go through a couple of these questions very quickly, and then we'll try to hit the rest shortly. If you have a duplicate application in the portal, you're not able to delete the second one, but you are able to just start a new one. The other one will expire and disappear over the course of the year. The MyMassGov, the QR point, you can, if you're trying to use an authenticating app, sometimes the apps can be, depending on your individual app, may have trouble, you can also use the phone. You can set it up with a telephone number to get an SMS authentication code. Question is it better to have one account per organization or better for each user to have their own? It's important that each user have their own account and they can all be added to a single organization. Everything you do in the grants management system will be time, date, and person stamped. So you'll always know who did what and when. So if that way more than one person can log in, you can collaborate on your application, and you can work together throughout the course of the entire grant program. Let's see. If you save draft without clicking next, will you lose your entered information? You need to be very careful about that, depending on how much, on what has been entered. I strongly recommend hitting the next and then the save draft button to make sure that everything is retained. Is there a maximum word or character count for answers? In each box for a long response answer, there is a little character counter, and you may, and it will count down as you type. If there is a recommended limit, it will be shown there in the question. All right, I'm going to pause here for a second. We'll come back to the Q&A, but I would just like to go through and continue with the presentation. Who may apply for an ECO one-stop grant? This is terribly important, and I can't stress this enough. The application must be started and submitted by the entity that would ultimately receive and hold the grant contract. So if you are a partner, if you are a grant writer, an engineer, a consultant, or anyone else who is going to be working on the application, it's very important that the lead applicant create the application and then submit that at the end. You're welcome to come in and collaborate and edit and work on it, but it's very important that the applicant is the one that hits the submit button. Please know that if the application comes from an ineligible entity, such as a business or a consulting firm, it may be rejected as ineligible because you don't have the right type of application. It has to come from that person. Can't stress that enough. If you are a partnership, so if you have multiple municipalities or nonprofits or other entities working on your grant application, it is the lead applicant, the one that would ultimately receive the funding and work with others as subcontractors, that must originate the grant application. Now, we're very happy that we have a new module where consultants and partners can join the GMS to work on other applications. If you'd like to be, the first thing you're going to do, if you do wish to serve as a consultant or a partner, is to create your own grantee profile in the grants management system, linked to your organization that you actually work for, whether that is a firm or another town or nonprofit. That's going to be your home organization. There are some grants out there within EEA that private entities may apply to, and so you're going to want to have a grantee profile in case you can apply for on your own. If you would like to have it to be listed as a consultant in the GMS so others may see you and bring you into their application, please send us an email to eco1stop@mass.gov and request to have it is your consultant permission enabled. It just takes a moment, and once it is enabled, it will allow your name to be seen by clients and partners so they can invite you in. If you are joining as a consultant, and that's the consultant is the broad term that we use for anyone who's going to be sharing in an application but is not able to actually start or submit the application, we're going to put you in the consultant group. When you select the consultant group, you'll see all of the applications that you've been invited to join. And those applications may be coming from multiple different applicants. So you'll see everything there on that little tab right there. The grantee tab will be for your own applications for your own organization. How to add a consultant or a partner. The GMS team can add consultants and partners to your application, but this may take a little time depending on our volume. If you'd like to add a consultant or a partner, you can send an email to eco1stop@mass.gov. Alternatively, an organization may select a member of their organization to serve as the organizational administrator. This person can add and remove consultants and users very quickly. If you do want to have an organizational administrator, again, please send an email to our general email box. We'll set you up with that, and user tools will be provided so you can manage your own account. If you have multiple people using your application, please note that we've enabled a lockout feature to make sure that your work is not overwritten. And you'll see this little blue bar at the top. So as you are in there, you have exclusive access to that application. So, however, if you just leave it up there and you forget to log out, after 2 hours, the application will close and it will open up to other users. So if you haven't saved your work after 2 hours, it may disappear. So you want to be sure that to log out and save draft, mark complete, or cancel and exit that application to make sure that other users can get in there. It will open up to other users as soon as you exit the application properly. It's important to note that the grant application for the Eco One Stop and all programs involved will automatically close at 11:59 on March 20th. So, and once that is closed, it cannot be reopened. Once an application is submitted, no changes can be made and no further information may be provided. This is the only portal for the Eco One Stop. We're expecting a lot of applications, and so we're expecting everything to come in through the grants management system. Applications are strongly urged to give themselves plenty of time to complete and submit the application. There are a lot of questions here, and there will be documents that you need to gather. So be sure to get in there soon. Take a look at the application. Make sure you've carefully thought through your responses, and give yourself, again, plenty of time, because as we noted in our other webinars earlier this week, 11 o'clock on the night of the deadline is not going to be a terrific time to be running into any difficulties with the portal. We can help. If you have any questions or technical issues, please just send it to the Eco One Stop and we'll route it to the correct place. User guides are available in the GMS portal and your user portal under the Help tab. So now I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go to the Q&A tool in Zoom to look at the questions. And thank you for joining us today. I'm going to stop sharing and let's go to the questions.
All right. Thanks, Bill. We've got some questions about kind of the nuts and bolts. Can folks download copies of their application after the fact, or once it's complete? Can they keep a downloaded copy of their completed application?
We do not have a PDF export. However, what we have found is that if you simply copy and paste all of your responses and drop those into a word processor, they come out nicely formatted. So that's probably the best way to save your responses.
That's great. Questions about usernames. Can a committee member who will be assisting a municipal department with an application view PDFs of each of the forms? I'm not sure which forms we're referring to.
So on the Eco One Stop webpage and our Combis listing, we have downloaded and we have copied and downloaded pictures, I guess, screenshots, and copies of all of the questions that will be located in all of the One Stop applications. So if you want to preview the form without going through, the Combis or the Eco One Stop is the best place to see those forms. Hopefully that answered that question.
I think so. Thank you. You mentioned that those who have a Mass.gov account may already have a MyMass.gov sign-in. Can you clarify that point?
Sure. So the MyMass.gov username and password is used for about 20 different programs and services throughout the Commonwealth. So if you already have used the MyMass.gov tool and you have a username and password already, you don't need a new one. So it depends on which service. I do think that the some of the grants over at MassDOT, some of the community grants do use that login. So you may already have one. It's worth it. It's worth checking your own records to see if you're already in there. But it does need to be a business account.
Business account. Okay. Pertaining to coastal watershed questions, if there's a regional grant where the RPA is the applicant, do they select all of the municipalities that are part of the regional grant?
So there, when you select down, when you go into the grant application, there will be a pull down menu of the municipalities in which you intend to work, and you can select as many as necessary. And so, if you are working in multiple locations, you can select each one. But you will need to check the grants catalog to make sure that you're eligible for those grants, and make sure that any communities you're working in are eligible for that.
Great. A lot of questions about uploading documents in an application. Is there a limit to how many documents folks can upload?
There is not a limit. However, as you go through the grant application, you will periodically encounter a question where the question is to upload a form. And there'll simply be a button that says upload document. So for instance, there may be and there is one that will say, upload a document of your match commitment. And so you'll simply select the upload document key. You will upload document, which is sort of a common tool. It's probably something you've used something similar to before. You'll type in the file name and you'll just simply move on. If you wish to remove the document, there'll be a green X. You'll just select the X and put up a new document.
Great. And some folks are wondering, can you upload documents as you type your narrative, or do you have to wait until after you're done with your narrative to upload documents?
Most of the document uploads will actually be in line. And so as you're typing in your various narratives, you will see that. You can always save and come back and upload those later.
Okay. Okay. And do you have to wait until you're ready to hit submit to attach your documents, or
Nope.
you can attach them whenever?
You can attach them at any time. And as you're proceeding through the application, you'll see those different questions that will simply say upload document here. And you can always come back to those and upload later if you choose.
Great. Can multiple users make edits simultaneously in a given application?
You cannot make edits simultaneously. There will be locked out for that exclusive use of the person who is editing at a given time. For someone else to come in, you'll need to save, exit, and let that other person in.
Okay, great. Making sure I've got all those document-related questions. All right. There is a question about, there's actually a lot of questions about this idea that the application has to be started by the relevant applicant. So at what point can other folks kind of jump in to help with the application? Does the individual starting it actually have to be like the town administrator or like the authorized signatory for the grant? So I guess just clarifying on that like starting process.
Whoever who is authorized to start or submit an application is going to vary from applicant to applicant. However, to invite other people, whoever is able to start the application must be started before you can invite others to it. However, it doesn't even need to have any content, but it does need to be saved, so a record exists, and then you can start inviting people in.
Okay, great. That makes sense. Let's see. Other panelists, I'm looking at our Word document and not necessarily the questions that are coming in. So pipe in if there's other questions that we should be turning our attention to.
I see a couple quickies that I can do really quick. Does it matter what web browser you use? Nope, it does not matter what web browser you use. If you're really ambitious, you can it zooms to telephone size, but I don't really recommend it. But you can zoom that size to any size you like. Here's another quick question. Once a grant is submitted, will there be an email confirmation? Yes, the primary contact will receive an automated confirmation from the system. If you see an error with one of your documents, can you remove it before you submit the grant application? Yes, you can go back and remove the document and then re-upload a different document in each question. Let's see. Is there a combined application size requirement? Nope. We've moved on away from our previous tool, which only allowed 25 megabytes. Glad to say that we have lots of space. That said, if you have really big documents like engineering plans, do think about compressing those just to make it load a little bit easier for you and for us. Do you need to name the files in a specific way? No, you do not need to name the files in a specific way. They will all be stored in a library. So we recommend that you give yourself a file name that makes sense. Each document will be given a unique identifier in the back end of the database. Let's see. Real quick, if we are not a business account already, do we need to make one? Yes, you will need to make a new business account in MyMassGov if you do not already have one. If you have a personal account that you use for personal transactions with the state, please know that we have learned that you cannot use the same email address for both. And so we recommend using a work email address for your business account and a personal address for your personal transactions. But please know that you cannot use the same email address twice. There's a municipality with different departments applying. So yeah, an organization administrator would be great. That way you can manage all of your users for all of your grants. And then that's probably the easiest way to do it. And we're happy to support you in that. Let's see. Can a municipality designate more than one user as an organizational administrator? Yes, you can. If you wish to have two people in that role, you may do so. Does the applicant for an RPA have to be the executive director, or can it be a planner who will manage the grant? So that's going to depend on your organization. Generally speaking, an employee may submit the application. However, we will need documentation in the application in a couple different places that the organization is authorized by its regional partners to submit that. So it doesn't have to be the executive director themselves, but we will need some documentation authorizing that application on behalf of those partners.
And that also would apply. There's a question about a town volunteer working on an application, and they're concerned, they want to be the contact, the person that's, actually getting the info on the grant. But, the town administrator is actually the one who's authorized to do it. So I assume that is the same, where they can be the person on the grant as long as there's a letter from the town administrator.
They can, and they'll want to enter their town's organizational group, and we can help them facilitate that. Let's see. I'm scrolling here. I apologize as I go through some of these questions.
There's another question that kind of relates to this applicant type set of questions we're going through. Can we be both an applicant on some grant? Can we be an applicant on some grants, but also list ourselves as a consultant to help with other applications or other grants? So like a dual role.
You can definitely do that. And if you are listed as a grantee and a consultant, you will see those different tabs at the top of your portal in your My Application. One for the grants that you are working on for your own organization, and one for those that you've been chosen and invited to serve as a partner or a consultant. Let's see. If a consultant is assisting an entity with their application, should the entity add the consultant's account to their organization? No, you should come in as your own organization. And once you are, and you send us a quick email to the One Stop, we'll add you to the consultant group. and then the entity can select you as a consultant. So you don't want to join their organization, you want to stay in your own. If submitting more than one application, does the system require you to complete all of the organizational information in each, or does the system do it automatically? So the system will pull in information such as your name, your address, your organization name, and that type of information. What it won't do is pull in new information about a particular grant application. How much are you seeking? Where are you working? Or anything like that. But it will pull in information about from your personal profile about your name, address, organization, so on. Let's see. Is there a one pager or something to check a list of the required documents? There's not a one pager of the document requirements, but there is a printout of the entire grant application and the grants catalog, which gives you guidance on each bit of the application, as well as the RFR. Again, all of that information is provided in those documents. Will hyperlinks be allowed within the responses? Unfortunately, no, not at this time. However, if you do type in, wish to guide the reviewers to a hyperlink, you'll want to put it in with the HTTP, with the entire address that can be copied and pasted into a browser. Unfortunately, we do not have the ability to put HTML tags in these responses. Let's see. The grantee submit application. So is this always the case for all grants? So in general, we do need the applicant to be the one who originates the grant application. And the reason for this is that the grants management system will be used throughout the entire grant lifecycle, from the application to the contracting to the delivery of invoicing and reports, and ultimately closing out the grant. And so if it comes in from a consultant or a grant writer whose role ends after the submittal of the grant, then everything is going to the wrong place. So it's very important that the actual applicant be the one who applies, because that's going to carry you all the way through the grant lifecycle. If you're a volunteer member, you're just going to want to join your town's group if you're authorized to do so. Let's see.
There's a couple of questions about consultants, adding consultants. Would you be able to go over that again? How you email Eco One Stop, what info they need to provide?
Yep. So the easiest thing to do, so if you are a consultant and you wish to have to be listed as a consultant so that other organizations can see you, please send us an email to Eco One Stop and we'll get that set up real quick. It doesn't take very long and it's a very quick procedure. And that will enable folks with the organizational administrator to see your name. If you want EEA to add a consultant for you, please send an email to the Eco One Stop with the name of the consultant and their email address, and we'll get that set up for you. But you will need to have started your application. Otherwise, we don't know where to add it. So you will need to start an application before you can add a consultant, regardless of what you do.
Here, I'm wondering if the question you're currently typing an answer to is one we should also answer live, because I have heard this question in various forms, and I think it's an important point. So the question is, if a single application will have a slightly different scope for two different grant programs due to the programs having different eligible activities, for example, an MVP action grant scope being more extensive than a cooling corridor scope, should the applicant submit two different applications or one combined application for the two programs?
Yeah, I was just starting to answer that. So if it's the same project, you should just apply for the full scope in one application, and each program will evaluate the parts of it that are eligible for the program. In rare cases, we might fund it from two different programs, but the whole point of the Eco One Stop is that you only have to apply once for one project. So just do it that way.
And we encourage you to consult the grants catalog, which provides guidance on what to include in those narratives so that you can be eligible with the correct information for 2 programs at the same time. Question: if you're using the same system with different applications under one account, will they all lock out? No, the only one that will lock out is the one that that somebody is working on. So if you're trying to work on an application for an electric vehicle, for instance, that will not lock you out. It'll only be the one that's, I think hopefully you understand where I'm trying to go here, but it's only going to be the one that's actively in use. If you're a volunteer member of committees in multiple towns, will you need separate emails for logins? That's going to depend. If you are going to be applying on behalf of the town in multiple towns, yes, you will need one for each town. If you're going to be assisting or consulting, then no, you do not need it. It really depends on who is going to be applying for the grant in this round. Already have an account with DOR for my business. I only have one email address. Yes, you are you saying I can't use the same email address for GMS and DOR? If you have so there's 2 different ways in the MyMassGov tool to get a profile. One is the business account, which allows you to do things with Department of Revenue, such as certain business filings. If you already have that, you should be okay to also join the GMS. If you have a personal account for personal transactions, such as, I don't know, personal taxes or different benefit programs, then you will need a separate account. However, if you do already have a business account, you can use the same login from the MyMassGov tool. How will a town select a consultant? Great question. If you're set up as an organization administrator, there will be a drop-down menu of consultants that you can choose from. If you prefer EEA to set that up for you, you'll just need to send us their name and email address, and we can set that up. Can consultants be on a list of willing to support other groups? That's a great question. All we can do is put you in the consultant group, and then the rest of that is going to be up to you and your business development. We can't really help with that. If your consultant already has a business profile, that's great. They do not need a new address, but you will need to start up your application before we can invite them in. But yep, if they're already in the GMS, if they're already in MyMassGov, they'll need to set up their own profile in the grants management system, and then we can set them up. Let's see. Just trying to scroll through this. Someone asked about DOER Green Communities grants. That I'm not sure if they're going to be joining this system or not. They are currently not involved, except for the regional schools decarbonization program with the Green Communities. You'll have to ask the Green Communities folks about that one. When a consulting firm makes an account, can they add individual people from the firm for organizations to assign specific people to applications? So each individual in your firm is going to want to create their own account and their own login, and we can join them to your consulting firm account. Once that's set up, then we can assign them all to the consulting role, and then the grantee, the actual applicant, will select them to join their application. Is Grant Central maintained independently? Yes, the Grant Central is a MassDOT application. However, the MyMassGov tool is just all the MyMassGov tool is a single username and password that can be used throughout a number of state services. So any information that you may have submitted to the MassDOT system is completely separate from anything we have here at EEA. but hopefully you can use the same login so you don't have to create a new account. So let's see. Multiple people be viewing the application while one is editing. We also often collaborate on Zoom while writing. Yeah, I believe that is the case, but you won't be able to edit. Let's see. Is the primary contact the same as the project lead? That may or may not be the case. So for instance, if you have if the project lead is someone on your staff who specializes in actually doing the grant activity, such as tree planting, for instance, but they are not the actual person filling out the grant application. So perhaps someone filling out the grants application is someone on your financial staff. You'll have both of those people in the same organization. And the primary contact is the person that is going to be getting emails regarding the grant and its status from the system. The project lead may or may not be involved in the GMS at all, and that's up to you and your organization. Character limits. Okay. Back to here.
Bill, there's a few questions about a consultant list. Maybe we want to clarify that the applicant needs to find, like they need to like source their own consultant. Like we're not going to provide that information, right?
Correct. So the consultant list that you'll be able to see are only those people who have elected to join as the consultant group. So if the person that you work with frequently has not done so, they won't appear. So they have to proactively choose to join the consultant group. So the list of folks that you will see are only those folks who have gone into GMS and requested to be added to the consultant group. So if the person that you work with isn't there, you're going to need to prompt them to create an account and join.
Somebody was asking where they see the list.
So the list will be is going to be available only to those in the organizational administrator profile, or by simply requesting us to add them to it. So it's not something that each person is going to have access to. For security reasons, we request that only the organizational administrator add and delete people, or add and remove people from a grant record. Does the primary email have to be the email address from the organization applying? No, I don't think so. The email address is going to be the email address that's used to communicate with you. So strong recommend that the email be connected to the organization, but that's really up to you. I have a mass.gov account in my name. So if you are a state employee with a mass.gov account, we're going to request that you using the consultant's email. Do I need to set up another account? So if you are a state employee, please, you can contact us separately. There's some different procedures that you need to do to log in. Otherwise, the system gets really confused. So please contact us offline with the Eco One Stop email. Just trying to get through some of these. Let's see. People, an applicant to add. So if you're an applicant and you wish to add a consultant or partner, do we need to email you to indicate who to add? If you are asking EEA to add a consultant to your application, yes, you'll need to tell us who, and so you'll need to let us know the actual individuals one or multiple, who you would like added to that application. Again, you need to create the application first, or else we don't know where to add those individuals. The individuals are going to be linked to the application, not to the organization. Just want to time check. We have about 5 minutes left in this session.
Might be helpful just to mention that there are user guides within the GMS to help you with as you go, as questions arise, and there are some IT links like email address to refer to if you have questions as you go. So there are resources in addition to this webinar, which will be posted on our website too.
If our consultant emails you and is now on a list for us to add, will other grantees see our consultant on their list too? So if that consultant, if someone goes on to be a consultant and they've elected to be in the consultant group, any other organization may request to add that individual. So for instance, if you are with a large engineering firm, for instance, and you're in the consultant group, anybody can also add that individual consultant. So it's not exclusive to you. Let's see. Can we address this once more? If a single application will have a slightly different scope for two different grant programs, due to the programs having different eligible activities, should the applicant submit two different applications or one combined? At the end of the day, that's kind of up to you. If you think that that they're similar enough that that you can accurately describe the scope in one application, please feel free to do so and apply to both programs. If you think that the scope is so specific that it excludes one program or another, you may wish to apply twice. We unfortunately cannot help you decide on how to do that, but please consult the grants catalog for guidance. We've tried to build this in such a way that a single application for a similar scope would be eligible. But again, please consult that grants catalog. Clarify about what you need by start and end date for the application. That's an easy one. For the start and end date, we'd like to know when you would like to begin your grant project. So for instance, if you don't want to start your grant project until next December, please type in December of 2027 as your start date, for instance. It really helps us to understand your proposed timeline and when you would like to conduct your project. To add a consultant, should the consultant email me first or us first? Yes, please do, and we'll add you to that group, and then we'll get you set up with the organization. You've updated your profile and clicked update profile. It sends me back. Yep, it's because that our whole team is here on this webinar, and so we haven't been able to get in there and validate anybody while we've been in this webinar today. We'll get in there and validate people as quickly as we can.
Everyone's just on it right now.
we're all here. So I guess we probably need to stop there. We can certainly take additional questions through the Eco One Stop email. We'll post responses to those. And if it's a technical issue and you're having real technical trouble, we'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. If it's related to the One Stop application, we will have to post that publicly into our response to the Combis portal and to our Eco One Stop website. So with that, I'll thank everyone for joining us today. Again, please visit the mass.gov website that has been created for the Eco One Stop for more information about any of the programs that are here with our program. Just a last opportunity for anyone on our team before we conclude our session today. All right, thank you. Again, we'll be posting the recording of this session and the slides for this session to that mass.gov website for the Eco One Stop. Thank you all very much and have a great afternoon.